Over video game generations, there's been an increase in fidelity of graphics, frame rates, and audio.
They've even made the music, well, honestly, less annoying.
Even with advancements and fewer limitations, there have been some curious design decisions that I've noticed with sample rates of certain music. For Nintendo systems, this wasn't a concern until the GameCube generation, where games with streamed audio were emerging. Titles like Kirby Air Ride and Super Smash Bros. Melee used live orchestral recordings that played during gameplay. These recordings would be exported at a certain sample rate, specifically for the game. Sample rate is the amount of times every second that the sound level is recorded. A higher sample rate allows for a higher resolution of data between bit depth and samples. With higher audio resolution, digital computer audio becomes closer and closer to analog. In layman's terms, it's the quality of the audio. The higher the number, the fuller it sounds. DVDs use a standard 48 kHz sample rate, while CDs have a standard of 44.1 kHz. I'm focused on video games though. GameCube, Wii, and 3DS games typically would use a 32 kHz sample rate, which doesn't sound too bad. Of course, this rate can vary on a file-by-file basis. Depending on what the developer wants to do with the audio files, it might be better to bring the sample rate even lower. Although the music in Mario Kart Wii is 32 kHz, sound effects and voices are stored at 16 kHz. This works well with the game's mixing, since the higher quality music will be the main focus, while sound effects are quick and short. Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS uses 20 kHz audio for its music, and it doesn't sound that good compared to the 48 kHz Wii U version. Well, 1 Hz off, but close enough. So what's the benefit of using a lower sample rate if it makes the audio sound worse? Well, with less samples per second, there's less data being used, resulting in a smaller file size. While it varies, audio files can take up a decent portion of a game's size. Music takes up about 70% of the file size for New Super Mario Bros. 2, which is notable since it was the first retail title available to download on the eShop. Storage was important. Some Wii U and even more Switch games use 48 kHz audio, as size constraints and seek times aren't as harsh. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch was advertised to have higher quality audio compared to the Wii U version, making sounds more realistic and enhancing the open-air feel. Yeah, well, I think that's a bunch of marketing phooey. But the sample rate is better, going from 32 kHz to 48 kHz. I'm getting off track, but those are the basics. The 3 standard numbers to remember are 32 kHz, 44.1 kHz, and 48 kHz. With that knowledge, I've seen a few oddities. Themes feature new backgrounds, sound effects, and music to customize the 3DS home menu. Music in particular has a file size limitation of about 3 megabytes, so some developers had to get crafty if they wanted to fit their song in. The best way to manage that size is to either shorten the length of the song, or lower the sample rate. 3 megabytes isn't the most generous size for an audio track, but working around the limitation can produce quality music. It's all about balancing length and sample rate. Due to the dynamic nature of music and trying to avoid this upper limit, there's a wide range of different sample rates that were used on themes. It wasn't until the Metal Gear Solid theme where I heard something truly special. This is an instrumental version of Snake Eater from Metal Gear Solid 3. Usually when I think of Snake Eater, I think of the iconic vocals from Cynthia Harrell.
with darkness and silence through the night.
This theme has a staggering 16 kHz sample rate. That's the same sample rate used for Mario Kart Wii's sound effects. Snake Eater is a highly dynamic song with multiple instruments playing over each other, and yet it was compressed to 16 kHz and was actually sold in the theme shop for money. It is a cool theme though. I can't even begin to imagine how watery it would sound having the vocal version at 16 kHz. So instead of imagining, I'll resample it myself.
Someday you'll feed on a tree frog.
Yeah, Konami made the right call by using the instrumental version. There are some themes that use even lower sample rates to preserve runtime, but Snake Eater is the most iconic to me. F-Zero 99 uses a mix of 44.1 kHz for menu music and 11,025 Hz for racetrack music. That's a really low number. Listening to it alone doesn't sound that great. When actually playing F-Zero 99, the mixing prioritizes sound effects over the background music. With a near constant whir of the engine and other loud sound effects, it's harder to notice the lesser quality on the music. Somehow, the sampled SNES music is higher quality. The difference is most notable with the drums on Mute City when listening to the music in isolation. Given that the original F-Zero never used streamed playback, and samples were already compressed, it fit nicely on the SNES. I'm not much of an audio nut, I don't have studio-grade headphones, but when the F-Zero 99 theme for Tetris 99 was teased by Nintendo, I knew something was up with the audio. After hearing it on my own system, I could tell Nintendo ripped the music directly from F-Zero 99's files. Tetris 99 has no constant humming, and the music is mixed to be louder than the sound effects. The lower quality music is front and center. If I boot up F-Zero on SNES Online, the audio is significantly cleaner. Then again, it's playing in a sequenced format. Super Smash Bros. Has clean, 48 kHz streamed versions of Mute City, Big Blue, and Whiteland, and I'm sure Nintendo has an archive somewhere with these songs. F-Zero 99 was developed by Nintendo Software Technologies in America, and I imagine they would have had the resources to get high-quality music. On Nintendo Switch, compression and file sizes for digital games aren't as strict as they once were, so saving a few megabytes for a game that's already over a gigabyte seems odd. During gameplay, it doesn't sound that bad, but having Tetris 99 use this low-quality audio is downright strange. On the flip side, we have Super Paper Mario. Almost all music in Super Paper Mario is played at 22,050 Hz, which doesn't seem right for a Wii game. GameCube and Wii games tended to use a sample rate of 32 kHz, and Super Paper Mario isn't pushing any file size limitations. The answer lies behind the speed flower. This flower will speed up the game, including the music. When this happens, the music plays at the file's original sample rate of 44.1 kHz. Half of that is 22,050 Hz, the intended playback speed. If you were to take an existing audio recording and decrease the sample rate on it without resampling, the existing data gets stretched out and appears to play slower. Due to technical limitations of how streams work on the Wii, and this specific method used, the music has to be lower quality. Well, hold on. What about something like the final lap in a race of Mario Kart? Shouldn't normal speed music play at a lower quality as well? Streamed Mario Kart music uses a different method. There are separate files for both normal and final lap variants. This means playback speed doesn't have to be changed on the system, and both versions can retain their quality. It also allows for more control per track, like how Big Blue in Mario Kart 8 has a remix on the final lap. The only downside to this approach would be the file size. By producing 2 files for every song, the music will take up nearly twice the space. On Nintendo's official Mario portal, there's an anthology of Mario's games that includes screenshots, audio clips, and box art. Interestingly, for Super Paper Mario, there exists a 44.1 kHz snippet of the main theme. It's only a 30-second portion, but it's definitely a step up from what's heard in the actual game. There also exist reverse cases in terms of quality changing. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U has DVD quality audio, with some songs receiving a nice bump from their source releases. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds stores its music at a sample rate of 32,728 Hz. Smash features a selection from Zelda at a cool 48 kHz. Zelda's soundtrack was designed with the 3DS speakers in mind, but the tracks hold up in higher quality with headphones. Most modern game releases are no longer shackled by limitations in read speed or file size for music. In some cases, the games are the highest quality resource, surpassing CD quality. Plenty of games from the past weren't as lucky though, signifying the importance of CD releases during their era. Plenty of games from the Wii and GameCube era didn't receive CD soundtracks, leaving titles like Super Paper Mario publicly stuck with a lower sample rate. And I'm okay with that. As long as the music isn't as bad as the Metal Gear Solid theme.